Good morning, everybody, and happy Monday. I'm Beth Caldwell, and one of the frequently asked questions that I receive when I'm at a book signing or when I'm at a women's conference is, how did you become a speaker? How do you get paid to speak? And I'm not going to actually answer that question for you today. I'm going to tell you something totally different. And that is how I almost didn't become a speaker. It's really interesting. You know, when I was a little girl, little, like 2 years old, 3 years old, I would sit in the kitchen while my mom peeled potatoes every night to make dinner for our family, and I would write books. Now, I would talk and write books. I can remember stories about my neighbors when I was a little girl. My neighbors saying, "Does she ever stop talking?" And my mom would say, "No, she never stops talking. She even talks in her sleep." My mom was really patient with me back then. But what I used to do is when I was really young, I would sit while my mom was cooking and I would write books and I would talk about the books that I was writing. Now, mind you, I couldn't read at the time, but I was writing books nonetheless because books were my favorite thing. And the next day in the morning, my mom would bind these books together for me with yarn, and then I would read my books to everybody. So, you know, I was doing what I was meant to do from a very, very young age. And I did that through elementary school and through middle school and through high school. I spoke at events whenever I could. I spoke at fundraisers. I always looked for speaking opportunities in the Girl Scouts and at my church, and I did a lot of speaking. When I was in 11th grade, I was a part of Junior Achievement, and they had a speaking competition, and I went, and I did really well, and I got to the semifinals, and the winner of the semifinals was going to go to state finals. I was in 11th grade at the time, and there was one other young woman from my high school who was also in the competition, and she was a senior. She was an older senior. She was 18. And you had to be under 18 to win this competition. And she had gone every year. This was her last chance. And it was pretty apparent that I was going to win. And just as I started to go up on stage, she leaned over and whispered a horrible insult in my ear. And she said to me, you know, you really probably don't want to win this. It would be very embarrassing for your family. Since your dad is a blue-collar worker, they don't really like people like that to represent the school. Well, at that time, I didn't even know what a blue-collar worker was. Everybody that I knew's dad was a blue-collar worker. I had to go home and ask my mom what she meant by that. But she had scared me so much that I would bring shame to the school if I won. I got up onto the microphone, and what I had done fabulously in every competition before, I completely flubbed it. She got me. And she went to state and she won. And you know what? I didn't speak on a stage again for more than 20 years. These kind of comments that people make to us and about us, and it's not so much the comments, it's how we take them and the shame that we take on because of what other people think or what other people say. They can be very damaging. And it was more than 20 years later, I was almost 40, before I started speaking again. And I have to tell you, it was so difficult for me to get over that fear and that shame. And I wasn't even aware of where it had come from. What I did was I just got busy. I just got busy getting into school and busy working and busy with my family. And even though the dream was always in the back of my head, I never did it. When I came up with the opportunity to do it, I dipped my toe in and I did really well. But I was so hesitant. And later in meditation and in some thought work and journaling, I remembered that experience and realized how profoundly that had affected me. So my experience is not unique to me. You have had the same thing happen to you. What kind of dreams and desires have you held off on because of what somebody else said or what somebody else thought? Now, I don't regret that I waited 20 years to become a speaker because I think that what I talk about, I needed to have some life experience on anyway. But I often wonder what might have happened if I had won that competition, if I hadn't let her get to me. And so, of course, I had a lifelong journey of dealing with criticism, which we've talked about many times, and there are some future episodes on that. But I want to ask you today, what is it that you dream of that you've been putting off? And please don't put it off a moment longer. There's a lot of time left for you. And there's a lot of you left that the world is waiting for. So please send me a message and let me know what it is that you have been putting off. And let me know when you're going to get started. I can't wait to hear from you. I'm Beth Caldwell, and this is Monday Morning Mastermind, where I share with you tips on life and business and success, because as women, it is something we jumble up all together and we don't keep it separate. Have a great week, and I'll see you next Monday.
Thanks for watching this episode of Monday Morning Mastermind with Beth Caldwell. Beth is the author of more than 10 inspirational books on life, leadership, and business. Her books are available in bookstores nationwide or at your favorite online retailer. Visit CoachBethCaldwell.com to invite Beth to speak at your event or organization.